This video is sponsored by RenderHub. Stick around to find out where you can download free and amazing 3D models, and also how you can join the Art of Light rendering contest, which has an amazing cash prize of $3,800 for 4 different winners. Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to askNK. Today we're going to take a look at the beautiful tool called Rebloom. Rebloom is a brand new character creator which allows you to simply create interesting looking characters. Right now, this allows you to create characters, modify them, dress them, play with their skinning, and start creating stuff. There are plans for this to also come with some custom facial scan later in the future, as this is currently in beta. This is running based off the Unreal Engine, but has nothing to do with MetaHuman. So if you go over to the link in the description, it's going to bring you right here where you can download the free demo. So once you download the free demo, you can start creating stuff, and how to do this is simple. Click on the download button, put in your email, accept the license and agreement, and you can hit the download button. This comes with 6.7 gig of data, which is quite a lot. The minimum requirements for the hardware which you'll be working with exists right here, and of course some of the features that are currently available for the open beta are also here. So with this said, let's dive right into the tool and take a look at how this actually works. So once you download Rebloom, the open beta, this comes as a zip file and you have to unzip it. So you would notice that it has engine, and like we mentioned, this is built based off Unreal Engine. So if you zoom in, you'd also be able to see the basic things that you see with Unreal Engine apps, like the binary, content, plugin, saved, and also extra. So if we simply go back one bit, we can double click and open up Rebloom. Now, one thing to keep in mind is this takes your whole screen. Like, you don't have a resize button. However, once this app opens, you can go over to the settings and try something, depending on the performance that you have. So in this case, we're going to set this as Ultra, and from here is where you can set the textures during export. So we can set this to 2K. This currently only exports as FBX, and the level of detail for this is going to be set to 0. These are the external apps that these currently support. One thing which you might also notice is we have screen resolution. So if we go all the way and set this to 1920 by 1080, this is just going to blank our screen, and then automatically it's going to give us something like this. Probably we don't want to work in this way. So what we're going to do is just simply set this all the way back to what we have as our original screen size, and we can proceed with it. So once this comes back, we are going to hit the save button and we can start working. You might also notice that right here we have where we can enter details, but because this is currently in beta, you cannot necessarily do anything that has to do with login here. What you can do is to jump into the demo and start creating your avatars. And how you create your avatars is extremely simple. Currently, there are 2 ways of creating these avatars, which includes the generative method and also the artistic method. So if we like to do the generative method, we can click on generative mode. And so what this will do is automatically it is going to generate an avatar for us. So we can simply move around and see it, and this is quite responsive, I must say. So we can zoom all the way in and take a look at this character. How you navigate across this is very simple. Middle mouse button, if you move left and right, that is how you pan. If you roll your middle mouse button backwards, that is how you zoom. And if you click outside with your left mouse button, you can orbit across the model. You can see the hairs are quite responsive. So that is basically how you get started with generating your character. So once you generate a character, you can now start customizing them with these presets that exist. You've also got a few menus here, and not all these menus are currently active. So if we go, for example, the edit, we only have reset and settings. If we go over to morph, you don't see nothing. The joint doesn't have anything there because this is currently in demo. So yeah, that is one of the things to keep in mind. Within the generate section, however, if you click on that, you can make adjustment and randomize the character you are making. So if, for example, we would like this character to be an Afro character, and probably we'll just want to get only short hair, we don't want this to be a male, we want to keep it back as female, what we can do is just make the selections, and then we can click on the word generate, and automatically it generates it. Other things you can do includes going over to the randomizer, and you can randomize a few things. Probably you like to have some ear offset, some mouth offset, whatever you want, just simply do that, click on generate, and it would offset that as well. So we can set this however we want, and we can also go over to the prompt. Maybe you like to prompt this, you like to increase the bias, you like to play with the resolution in this case, depending on what you like to do. If you like to throw in a bit of a negative prompt as well, you can do that and hit on the word generate, and this just keeps creating stuff for you. So depending on what you want to do one more time, you can do that. And this is one way of creating stuff. The other ways of creating your stuff or whatever you jump into when doing the artistic method, because once you click on artistic, it just gives you the default model. And from there, you can start building on the avatar. So back here, what we have is this interesting avatar, and we can make changes to this one if we want as well. So within the avatar section, you can play with the presets. So once you click on avatar, you notice that we've got presets. So if you like to work with the preset and change the color of your character or even change the character itself, you can. So you've got a lot of interesting characters that you can pick from and you can use them. And to each of these characters that you're picking from, you can of course go in and make some interesting edits with them. The custom section is something that is currently not there. So if you click on that, you only get the blend shape and nothing is currently available for you to tweak. So we will simply going to go back to the preset and stick with what we have. We can, of course, go over to the skin section and also make some other decisions if this is something that we're into. So if we would like to change the color of the skin, probably we would like to go for a skin color like that. We can. If we like to play with the hue of the overall skin of the model that we're trying to make, we can also go through and do that. For the saturation, we can also drop that saturation slightly down or probably crank that up, depending on what we want to do. If we like this to be tanned or non-tanned, we can set this. All of these, including the age, the acne, vitiligo, pimples, freckles, all of that, you can make those changes here. And once you've got this going, you can also go over to the makeup section. And from here, you can start throwing in a few makeup. You might want to take a look at the makeup for the eyes. Probably you want to do some makeup for the eyeliner, or maybe there are just some stuff that you like to edit. Then you can also go in and check those out. You might want to go in and throw in a little bit of face painting for your model. This is also super available. So if this is, something that interests you as well, you can go in and explore with all of these. So let's go ahead and look for one kind of thing that, maybe something like this looks good. We can drop the opacity slightly so we can have that, and that looks cool. Again, you can randomize these things if you want. You can also go ahead and play with the lenses of your character's eye. So within this section, we can simply go around, look for something that looks pretty nice. That looks good. I do wish that this also has a little bit of an opacity, so you can drop that down, but currently we don't. Next off is grooming. So within the grooming section, there's a couple of interesting grooms that we have. So we can go with that groom. We can also take a look at these other one. And there's just a good number of grooms that we have here, which you can play with. And again, these grooms are currently available. They are nice. You can age them if you want. And you can also play with their melanin. So maybe you like to, have that a little bit more like so. We can just simply set this all the way back. Let's go back to something like so. I think that looks pretty nice. And we can age that slightly, and we can throw in a little bit of a melanin like so, and maybe just age that just slightly like that as well. And with the hair here, there's a couple of interesting things that we can do. Say, for example, you do have a particular kind of hair which you like your character to have. So let's go ahead and select one of these. Say, for example, we want to keep this particular hair. All right. So what we can do is we can make some adjustments to the hair. So by default, this uses a blend mode. So with the blend mode, we can blend the root and the tip of the hair. If we like this to be green, and then we want these other ones to be slightly more green, we can, of course, go ahead and do that. We can also choose how much blending we are getting. If we want this to be a little more blue-like, and we would like this blending to sort of take over, we can increase that blending, and we can drop that down. There's a few other factors that controls how this blending works, and they include the melanin. So if we crank the melanin, you see it becomes darker, but if we crush that down, you notice that we have the blend taking over. The same thing happens with the trim and also the age. So for the age, the more we age this, the whiter it becomes, and the less the age are, the more of the colors that we have on this model you get to see. You can also throw in that contrast as well if you like to have them. And, by every means, tweak these things and get the interesting result that you're going for. And you can mix and match different hair, and you notice that the colors also follow through. So again, depending on the kind of hair that you're trying to make for your model, these are super interesting ones. and I would definitely suggest that you check them out. And the same thing for the hair goes for the mustache and also for the beards. So if you like to throw in some beards, you can also toggle through the beards that we have here and make some interesting changes to them. So maybe there is a particular kind of beard you're going for. You can, of course, go ahead and tweak those, get that kind of beard. Ooh, look at that. And you can see how responsive this hair is. I kind of think that this is one of the most responsive I've seen for hair. And this is looking really good. Pretty nice. That looks good as well. And we can do some updates to the colors of the hair as well and do a slightly trim. Let's trim that beard a little bit, about this much. Looking really good. So we can trim that about this much, and that looks really nice. Let's throw in a bit of a mustache as well, and I think this looks good as well. But then with a trim tool, we can trim that just ever so slightly, like so, and reapply the very same things that we did. So we would go in, throw a little bit of the blue and throw in a little bit of the green as well, and let's do that blending. All right, so we're just going to blend this slightly, maybe not so much, right, about that much. Throw in a little bit of a melanin, and there we go. So we now have ourselves a very interesting character. You can also play with the eyebrows as well, and you can also do the same thing with the eyelashes too. And once you're done with the hair, we can now move on and take a look at Sculpt. So within the Sculpt section, this is where a lot of blend shape come to play. So with this, we can start off by sculpting various parts of the model. You'd also notice that we can change the position of the eyes, and we can also change where one eye is compared to the other. And for this, I'm just going to reset this entire eye. And if we like to close this, we can. If we like to make that open, we can also go ahead and do that. The same thing we have for the hair in terms of presets is also very similar to the same kind of settings that we have for the eyes, the nose, the mouth, cheek, jaw, body, iris, eyeballs, ears, head, teeth, and neck. So depending on what you want, there are presets for these categories, and you can definitely select any of them or use the randomized selection to select them randomly and tweak them to your heart content. There's just a lot of things that we can go through in this particular section that deals with Sculpt, and I would suggest that you go in and explore these ones yourself. We can now move over to wardrobe, and this is also another interesting place for our character. And from the wardrobe section, you can dress the character how you please. So there are different outfits currently available, and if you do find any of these ones that we have here super nice, you can pick that up and work with it. The same thing is said for the footwear. So for the footwear, for this character, of course, we already have one, but if you would like to change that, that is also something that you can. So for these, I'm just going to put this character in a different outfit so that we can take a look at that. So we can go over to the footwear and you can flip that, add some footwear like that. We can also throw in these other one, looking really, really cool. So we can stick to this if this is what we want. And we can also go back and also stick to the previous one as well, if this also fits into what we are creating. So with this, we can go over to the accessories, and from here, we can start adding a few stuff, probably a hat, a cap. You know, if any of these things fit the model you're creating, you can add that. We can also do the same thing for the glasses. Probably we'd like our character to have a few glasses here and there. We can play with the size of the glass, and we can also push the glass forward or move it backward if this is also what we want. The same thing can be said for the earring as well. We can throw in a little bit of a ring. Say we would like the character to have an earring on one side of the ear, and we can also go over to the other side and throw in another earring. So all of these, again, they are also available. Same thing can be said for the piercing. Let's say we would like our character to have a little bit of a piercing on the eyes or maybe on the nose as well. Then we can also switch this. So there are a few things that I would love to see in subsequent updates, and those things would include, you know, having layers so you can layer multiple things together. Like in this case, I would love to see a situation where we can layer both the piercing on the eye and also the piercing on the side or on the lips or on the nose. You know, those layering would actually help a lot. And speaking about things I would love to see on the model itself, I would also love to see a situation where you can rip things apart. So say we do have this cape, probably don't want to have that cape, we can rip it apart. And I would also love to see a situation where there is this interesting feature which we have with Character Creator, where you can select any object of choice and select the model, and automatically it just simply conforms. We did see that with the Tailor tool, which we talked about some time ago, and that doesn't seem to be so much of a situation with this tool. So because at this point, if we have this, and if we spin this character around, you would notice we've got some patches on this other side. And a situation where we can have these and either get it selected or get some automatic fitting will definitely make sense. And again, this is still in beta, and I believe things would definitely change up once this comes out. Over to the scene section, we have some stuff. At this point, we cannot throw in props on this, and that is why right here you notice there is no prop. But then what we can do here is play with the scene. So this is the scene that we have for our model. This is looking really, really nice. Probably this might be the thumbnail of the video, I have no idea, but it looks really cool, and it is pretty nice to see what we can do. Like I mentioned, we don't have props, but we can change the studio lighting of our model. Maybe this would be the thumbnail. So we can change the studio lighting of the model, and you can flip in between all of the studio lightings and make some interesting changes. At this point, if you have this light, if you double click, you'll be able to change the direction of the light. So however you want your lights to be, you do have options of changing the direction of the light and creating some impressive looking visual. At the same time, this offers an interior or exterior, but there is no exterior stuff at this point, which I can see. And I kind of believe that these again is going to be part of the updates that will be coming in the future. Over here, we've got a few expressions, and these includes happy, angry, disgust, and also sad. At this point, if you just simply do a simple click, these would toggle through them. But if you double click, you'll be able to, move this around. Look at the camera feature is currently not available, and also the emotion via the AR kit is currently not available. So from here, we can actually just set the character how we want the character to be, and I might just want this character to be about slightly sad about this much, and we can click to get that out. At this point, if we press the playback button, we would have our character walking, and we can again double click and also make some changes from this. We can throw in a simple idle and watch the character just stay in an idle mode, or we can do a double click and we can change this from an idle to a grid, which looks super cool. So for this, I'm just simply going to set this to pose, and we're going to get our character to just do a simple pose. So they've got a few poses that are currently available. With the fashion poses, this just simply looks more like this tool is targeted for, maybe fashion designers, as we don't necessarily have too much male-driven pose on this. So you might also tell from the idle to just the female down to the wave, we don't necessarily have too much, male-driven poses on this one, which is one thing I think, we may love to see in the future. Now, before we talk about how you can export these models, let's give a huge shout out to the folks at RenderHub. RenderHub is an amazing platform where you can download free 3D models and also premium 3D models. The beautiful thing with RenderHub is at this point, you can simply go ahead to the marketplace and download things based off compatibility, 3D model category, and also different types of 3D models that you want based off the asset you're looking for. So whether you're a 3D artist that is into creating stuff and you're looking for a place where you can sell them, or you're into free stuff and you're looking for where you can find free 3D models, you can simply go over to RenderHub and check out the free 3D model sections and start getting some impressive 3D models. It's also worth mentioning that the folks at RenderHub are currently doing a contest which has to do with the art of light. This is running from now till May the 31st of 2024 with amazing cash prizes to be won. So if you're into rendering, or probably you like making some impressive art and you would like to see more about this, you can simply go over to the link in the description and check out every single thing there is. And of course, a huge shout out to the folks at RenderHub for sponsoring this video. Back in Red how you export models are pretty simple. So if you simply go over to the file section, there is an export section which you can use to export models. You probably know by now that you cannot save any of the models that you're working with, as this is set to premium, which on the other hand isn't yet available for all. And what you can do is to style your models how you want and export them. And once you go over to the file section, click on export, you can simply export the model. This is going to export every single mesh that you have and would export 3 different texture maps, and they include the albedo, the normal map, and also the roughness. But one thing I need to point out is this, that once you're done working with this model, if you export it, this does not export the groom. And currently, the exporting type is not as stable as it is. So if you bring this over to tools like Blender, this comes in pretty broken. Actually, it's even worse if you choose to bring this into Maya. It totally ruins the entire model. The only thing you're left with is the skeleton of the model, which you probably have no use for. The same thing can almost be said for what you have when you're working with Omniverse, which is one of the tools that seems to be suggested. But with all this said, it is worth mentioning that if you're trying to work with this in Unreal Engine, which is its parent tool of creation, this imports the mesh properly, the material section, and also the skeleton. But then you would also notice that the groom does not come with it. So my best bet for anyone that is trying to use this app is you can use this as a concept tool, as it is so cool for doing some impressive looking concept and probably sketching out the base of what the model will look like. Then you can finalize a few other features outside of the tool in probably Unreal Engine and then export from Unreal Engine to other tools. Hopefully, once the beta is done and this is finally available, I believe all of these will no longer be the situation. Probably we'll be getting layered systems for both the grooms and also for props. The skin automatic weighting might also be something that might be coming, especially for the fabrics as well. And I would also believe that the exporting options will definitely be better than what we currently have. So this is it. For those who would like to take a look at this one, then you can simply go over to the link in the description and check it out. And of course, a huge shout out to the folks at Rebloom for making this possible, and also a huge shout out to the folks at RenderHub for sponsoring this video. Tell me what you guys think about this one in the comment section, and of course if you like this video or you learned something from this, you can go ahead and give a like and don't forget to share with a friend. And until I see you guys in the next one, peace.